Okay, hello everybody and welcome back to RagNext. Today I'm going to do a brief demonstration of creating a simple game from start to finish. It's only a 4-room game, so it's going to be a quick demo. So let's just jump into it, and we're going to create a new story project. And we're going to just call this Reactor Trouble. And it's only going to be a short 4-room demo. So we will jump into it right now. So we're going to be the engineer for this game. So the goal is going to be you're an engineer and you have to fix the reactor of your spaceship. So I've been in a kind of sci-fi mood, I guess, lately. So that's what we're going to go with. And what I did was I put in some I got some images ready and I got some descriptions ready ahead of time to make this go a little bit quicker. So we're just going to slap in a basic introduction for him, and let's go ahead and drag his profile over. Now what I just did was off screen, I dragged an image I had already prepared from my Explorer window and dropped it in here. And when you do that, the system automatically organizes your assets for you. So it created a players folder and dropped our image, which you can see here, right in there. So this is going to be our player. Now, I like to make all of the rooms at first as well. So we're going to start out in the airlock chamber. So let's change this name here. Airlock chamber. And I have a description of the airlock chamber here. So let's drag that over as well. There we go. And I've got a picture ready to go for the airlock chamber. So you'll notice once I dropped that in as well, it created a rooms folder. So we've got the airlock right there ready to go. So to go to the airlock chamber, let's see, we need another room here. So this is going to be the control room. Control room. And we'll drop in a nice little description here as well, and we'll put that in here. So the control room is going to be just north of the airlock. So from the control room we can go south to the airlock, and then we're going to make another room. This will be the hydroponics bay, and let's drop in the old hydroponics bay image. There we go. And we'll drop in a description as well. So here we go. And then our final room of our quick game demo is going to be the sub-level reactor. Let's call that sub-level reactor. So there we go. And we'll go ahead and drop in that description. Now that we have, in a second here, now that we have all our descriptions, we have to put in all the exits. So we just left off at the control room. We're going to go west to the hydroponics bay, and we'll have that loop back as well. And then from the control room, we're going to go down to the sub-level reactor. So we'll just say we have to climb down to get there. So let's do that. Now, what I want to do to start filling in some puzzles is in the airlock chamber. Initially, we won't be able to get into the control room. So we'll have to do something to unlock that exit. So let's move on to our items, because we have, actually let's drop in our character. I am going to have a little maintenance drone, and I'm just going to show you guys how to make it roam and move around by itself. So maintenance drone, let's see, did I put, yeah, I've got a little description here. Let's put that in here. Instead of a newly created character is the M300 Automated Patrol Unit. And here is his little portrait. So there we go. So we've got him, and I'm going to start him actually in the control room. So that'll be interesting. I'll show you how to route that guy all around your place on a fixed schedule. So I think that's what I want to do with that. And then let's jump into the items now, as I had mentioned. So we're going to have 3 items in here. So let's go ahead and create just 3 items. and then we'll jump into them. So this first item is going to be an encrypted data pad. I could spell that right. Okay, so I've got an image for that, and you'll notice now we've got objects and characters, so everything's trying to be organized for us to keep us aware of where everything is at. So I'm going to go ahead and fill in the brief description for our data pad. The next item is a fusion battery core. Fusion battery core, there we go. And this is carryable as well. The data pad is carryable. Okay, good. But not wearable. So let's fill in that description here real quick. And there we go. So last object is actually going to be a reactor terminal. So main reactor terminal. Now this is going to be a fixed object. You won't be able to pick it up and carry it around with you. So we uncheck carryable, and we will just go ahead and drop that in here. Okay, so now we gave them some instructions. Grid depleted, insert active fusion core to restore integrity. So you can kind of see where I'm going with that. So let's go ahead and start adding in some functionality. Let's make sure the player is starting in the airlock chamber, and he is. And everything is going to need, I always like to have an examine command so that someone playing the game can look at the description and understand what they look like and that kind of stuff. So let's go ahead and add our airlock chamber also with an examine command. And while we're at it, another way you can quickly add different commands, you can hit the copy button down here and just click and paste everywhere. Or it's just as easy, at least with the action library, to just hit examine as well. Okay, so in this first room, the control room, it's locked. So what are we going to do to have the player figure out a way to open this door? So my thought was, in the examine command, we enable another command after the examine. So what I'm going to add to the examine command is a little text display saying, hey, you notice some scribbling on one of the walls, right? So once I do that, we'll add a command called examine scribbles. And it won't be active until they examine this first. And once they do that, then they'll be able to get a code. And then we'll add a command here as well to enter code on airlock. And we can start with enter code on airlock being initially active so they can kind of see what they want to do. Okay, so let's go into enter code on airlock. Actually, you know what? Before that, I didn't add images for my fusion battery core, so let's go ahead and drop that guy in there. And main reactor terminal, here's a little image I found, so we'll use that. Now let's go back to the room editor. So as we're working on the puzzle here, we're going to have enter code on airlock visible. So let's jump in here, and we're going to, this is one I added ahead of time, but we're going to prompt player input. And the prompt name is just a name to help us control if we need to use commands to add custom options later. So no one ever sees this. Prompt name is just for you to understand what this is called. And this is going to be called airlock input. And so what we're going to prompt the player is, please enter the airlock code. And the input type, you can select many different ones. We're just going to have text, and we're going to store it in a prompt input variable. Now, what you'll notice here is we don't have any variables yet, but we can just add new. So we're going to call this one prompt input, and we can leave it a string. That's fine. It doesn't matter too much. But let's go ahead and select that newly created variable. So there we go. So now we have to check what they entered. And what we're going to do is a variable comparison. And we're going to look at prompt input and see if it equals. And I don't know, let's say 123D. That'll be the code. So if they enter that code, we'll let them know that they were successful. The door clicks and unlocks. And once we do that, we have to, of course, add a command here to actually enable that exit. So if we go into rooms, here we go, and we're going to unlock exit. And so what room? It's going to be the airlock chamber north gets unlocked. And if they enter the wrong code, we'll just give them a little prompt here. We'll just say something like code incorrect. So that's how we will unlock the door. I think it was 123D. So examine scribbles is not there. So let's go into the examine and let's give them a clue that there's something they need to do. So let's go ahead and add another command. So whenever we examine, we're going to display the room's description. We're going to show their portrait or image. And actually, you know what? Instead of, well, let's do it. We're just going to keep it simple. There are some random scribbles on the wall. And once we do that, we will also enable that action. So let's go ahead and turn that action on. So we're going to do room, set action to active or inactive. So here we're going to pick our airlock chamber, we're going to pick examine scribble, and when you check that, it will set it active. If it's unchecked, it will deactivate it. So we're going to leave it there. And examine scribbles. Let's go ahead and add a command here. And we're just going to give them that code. We're going to make it fairly easy. You see scratched on the wall 123D. Like that. Let's just get rid of the quotes. I don't think we need those. Okay, so there we go. So that's our first puzzle. And then in the control room, I think we set our maintenance drone in there, right? Yeah. So what we're going to do with our maintenance drone, we're going to add the examine. And now we're going to go into a timer. So I want the maintenance drone to kind of move around by itself. So let's make a timer for move the drone. Move drone. And we'll go ahead and turn it on and we'll just keep it active, but we don't want it to go every 1 second. That's a little too frequent for that guy to be moving around. So let's give him maybe, I don't know, every 30 seconds, we'll have him move. So let's jump in here and we're going to add our command to move the drone. Let's see. Where is our move drone? It should be under character, I believe. Here we go. Here it is. Move along patrol path. Sorry, it took me a second there. So what we're going to do is move our drone along a path. Now this is how you set up his patrol steps. So he starts in the control room, so the system already knows he's there. So we will add a step. So from the control room, we'll have him move to the hydroponics bay. And you'll notice down here this ping pong effect. If you have that turned on, it will trace back the way you just set up the path. But from the hydroponics bay, he's going to zoom back to the control room. And from the control room, you'll notice that he could go to sub-level reactor as well, or the hydroponics bay. So this time we'll have him go to the sub-level reactor, and then we'll just have him ping pong back on that route. The index variable is just used internally by the system to store where we're at on his patrol route. So let's just go ahead and make one. Drone index. And we'll just make that a number. Create that, and now we'll select it. So there we go. So the drone is going to be moving along its little path here, and that's how that works. Let's go ahead and return. We'll go back into the character. So I like to have him announce things when he's leaving or coming. So let's go ahead and create some trigger events. So when the character enters a room, I'm going to say this on enter. We'll just call it just so we know what we're looking at. And the direction filter, we're going to just have this work for all directions. And as soon as that little drone comes into a room that we're in, we'll say the maintenance drone zooms into your area. Okay. And let's go ahead and do the opposite of when he leaves. So let's go ahead and add on leave, and then we'll do our on character exit, and we will go ahead and set that to let us announce a little message here. The maintenance drone zooms off. There we go. So now we've got that guy kind of taken care of. Okay, so in order for folks to interact with those items, for example, in the control room, I want them to pick up the encrypted data pad. So you have to check the items so it will show up in that room. In the hydroponics bay, I want the fusion battery core. In the sub-level reactor, we have the main reactor terminal. So that's great. So let's go ahead and look at these items. So for the encrypted data pad, for example, I want them to be able to examine, take, and drop this item. So one thing you'll notice, because it's a carryable item, you see a few more options in your action library. And that's because, let me jump over there real quick. Depending on what kind of commands you want to put in here, it's fully customizable. But take, for example, I said on wearable or grabbable or container objects, you could potentially take them or drop them as well. So we want that set as well. So anyway, let's go back here. Encrypted data pad can be examined, taken, and dropped. So let's look at the fusion battery core. So I haven't done anything on that guy yet. So let's go ahead and examine. And we'll also add take. And we'll add drop. And in the take, let's look at that. We want take to be initially active because it will just be sitting in a room. And we'll move the item to the inventory. We'll display, hey, you've taken it. And then we will turn off the take action because they already have it, and we'll enable the drop action. Let's look at drop and make sure that that's initially not active, and it isn't, which is great. So that's exactly what we want. What I did here with the drop, this one's a little bit more complicated because it was designed to handle clothing as well and clothing zones. So we've got all kinds of additional logic here that we don't really need to worry about at this point for a simple game like this. And then in the main reactor terminal, we're going to have the examine command. Let's go ahead and add that. And then to win the game, they'll have to have the fusion core in their inventory. And we'll add an action that will say fusion battery, insert fusion battery, if I can spell that correctly. And you'll notice it's a trigger event by default. So we're going to do this, and first we have to see if the player is holding the fusion battery. So let's add a condition for that, and we'll say item held by player. So what item do they need to hold? They need to hold the fusion battery core. If they do, we will go ahead and actually we can, instead of doing a display text, let's go ahead and do an end game command, which would be under system. There it is. End the game. And they will win in triumph. You insert the battery into the core and stop. Let's see, and start the engines. There we go. So we'll just say congratulations. If I could spell that. There we go. Congratulations. So that's how they will win the game. If they try this command without the fusion core, we can say you are not holding a battery. So obviously we could get a little more fancy and have this disabled and only enable it when they walk into the room with that fusion battery. So I'm just showing you a few different ways that you can attack these problems. So with that, I mean, we have the basics to have a game, have someone walk through, examine some items. We could add more puzzles. We could also add sound effects if we want. But let's go ahead and do a quick test and see if this works. So I click the publish game, and in the standalone game publisher, you can choose which platform you want to target. Since I'm on Windows and I'm just doing some testing, we'll go ahead and publish on Windows. And we want to change the directory. So let's call this Reactor Trouble. Just type that in. You can also browse for your directories. So we're just going to create a new folder called Reactor Trouble and build our Unity game engine. It usually only takes a few seconds. Sometimes the zip packages take a little bit. So it did pop up here. And here's Reactor Trouble. We've got our packaged up zip already. So let's go ahead and double click on that and run the game. Make it big. And here we go. So we are now in our game. We are the engineer. We're in the airlock chamber. And you'll notice there's no exits currently. We can't get out. So let's go ahead and examine our character. So there he is, System Specialist First Class. Let's go ahead and examine our room here. So we look at the room and we see the heavy steel door sealed. There's some random scribbles. So if we go back into our room actions, we now see examine scribbles. I kind of glossed over it, but previously we only had enter code on airlock. So we'll examine the scribbles and we see scratched on the wall 123D. So let's enter that code and see what happens. 123D. And we'll submit. And look at that. The door clicks and unlocks. So now our exit to the north is open. Let's go ahead and go north. And welcome to the control room. So now we can go down back to where we came from or west. And look, here's our maintenance drone. The maintenance drone zooms into your area. So the maintenance drone is on his happy little path, and every 30 seconds, he should be moving around. Let's wait here. Well, actually, let's not wait. Let's go ahead and go off and actually, let's grab our encrypted data pad. You can examine your data pad. You can take it, and there we go. So we've picked up the data pad. I'm going to go west now, and welcome to the hydroponics bay. And that is a crazy looking hydroponics bay, but in here we have a fusion battery core. So let's examine that. So you can see there's our fusion battery core. We'll pick that core up and we'll go down here into this room. And you'll notice our friendly little robot is gone. I think he's down here. Let's go down. Whoops. Let's go down. I don't think I set the image for our lower level. I'll have to fix that. But down here we have the main reactor. Oh, and here the maintenance drone just flew off. So let's look at our reactor panel. Grid depleted, insert active fusion core to restore integrity. I just so happen to have the fusion core. We'll do that. And there we go. Game over. You insert the battery into the core and start the engines. Congratulations. Let's go ahead and fix that image though, real quick. On the sublevel reactor, oh no. Sublevel reactor looks the same as the control room. So I think I just put the wrong image in there. Let me take a look here. Where's my sublevel reactor? Here it is. So this is what the sublevel reactor should look like. So I've dragged that in there now. So everything should look correct. So let's give that a quick try. Go ahead and republish our game. We'll clear out the old files. And here we go. Let's run Reactor Trouble again. And here we go. So let's see if we can just enter the code. I think we can. 123D is our code. And it should be normal. Yep, there we go. So we're in here. Let's go ahead and grab our Fusion battery core. Take that. And here's our maintenance drone again. Let's go ahead and jump down. Now, here we go. So now you can tell that you've gone down into a sublevel reactor. So that just makes it feel a lot better. So we can examine our sublevel reactor, we can insert the battery, and we've won. So that is a quick demo of how you can get a basic game started. We can add some more functionality with the data pad if we want later. We can add sound effects, those sorts of things, but just want to give you the quick demo. Thank you for your time. Bye, guys.